Good morning and God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are excited to have our What's Up session in the month of July. We can't believe that we're on the second half of 2023, and we're just excited to have you guys to join us. Do we have a treat for you all today? We're going to this is our TOG business panel, and we're going to talk about business. And so we're excited about that. So let's have a word of prayer, and we're going to jump right in. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this morning hour that we got this great opportunity to spend time with great minds, business acumen. We thank you, Lord, for our TOG business panel. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing here at the Temple of Glory. Thank you for the vision of our bishop to have What's Up sessions, moments of truth, moments where we can share, moments where we can share from the heart. We can create and give good information, Father, that we can be edified, that we can know more about walking in business, even as a kingdom citizen. We thank you, God, for what you're getting ready to do in this place. Thank you for Sister Turner leading our charge, and we just pray the blessings of heaven as we move forward. Be glorified in our session. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. We'll now turn this segment over to our TOG business panel, to Sister Patrina Turner, and she will introduce our guests and get us started for this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Temple Nation. We are so elated that you decided to join us this morning, even on our YouTube Live. Thank you and welcome. We are elated because we have some of TOG's finest business owners. And today we wanted to talk about all things related to owning a business and entrepreneurship, and what better than to have our guests today who are business owner, whether they do it full-time or whether they do it on the side. We're going to get a lot of information and insight and words of wisdom from our business owners, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, before we get started with asking any questions, first of all, thank you all for being a part of our business panel. We're so excited that you guys are here. But before we get started, could we introduce ourselves and let us know your name, the name of your business, and what you do? So we're going to start with you, Brother Earl.
My name is Earl White, owner of CIK Customs, located at 7410 White Bluff Road.
And what do you do?
And I do custom automobiles. We used to do collision repair, but we just strictly do custom automobiles now, pretty much.
My name is Gwendolyn Jones, and I am the owner of Silver Silk and Beads. That is a woman's boutique located in City Market, downtown Savannah.
Good morning. My name is Darrell Hansley. I'm the owner of a Brighter Day Bail Bond. We get people out of jail. We're located on Chatham Parkway, Tupac of Commerce, Chatham Parkway. Been in business for 23 years.
Good morning. My name is Stacy Stanton, and I am the owner of Right Way Resume and Document Service. I provide resumes, cover letters, and all types of professional documents. Yes. Good morning.
And she's also a great baker. So first things first, my side business is basically helping families with their personal finances, whether it's creating a budget or helping them with giving them tips on ways to fix their credit, or even starting some type of a side hustle. And one of the things that I guess noticed, even when my husband and I were trying to start getting out of debt and really concentrating on our finances, was in doing research. I was looking at African American statistics. And although our stats when it comes to our net worth increased since COVID, mainly because of the housing appreciation that's taken place over the last year and a half, our net worth is still 70% below that of our white counterparts. And it's mainly because most of our assets is tied up into our housing. So when our housing goes up, of course our net worth is going to go up. When our house goes down, like it did 2007, 2008, our net worth is going to go down. And that's the main difference between African Americans and non-minorities is non-minorities have a more diversified portfolio. They have businesses, of course, housing, pension, all these things. And like I said, most of the time, our net worth is made up mostly of our housing. And one of the things that I noticed when we were trying to pay off debt and get our finances together was the importance of having some type of income coming in for us outside of our 9 to 5. At any given moment, we noticed with COVID, our jobs could end. So we wanted to ensure that we had income that wasn't tied to somebody else, pretty much, right? We were in charge of it. So the problem is a lot of times we don't, I guess, invest in ourselves in terms of being a business owner. Statistically, owning a business, of course, is one of the best ways to build wealth, but African Americans own less than 2% of U.S. businesses. So, my first question, why did you decide to start a business? Was it a financial move? Was it something that you were passionate about, or did you just kind of fall into it? And then what were some of the challenges you faced in startup? And I'm going to start with you, Sister Gwen.
Well, my husband started this business for us over 30 years ago. He's always been the type of person who was interested in his own business, even though he worked at International Paper for 35 years. He just came home one day and said, well, let's start over. He started selling, we used to live really, really close to Savannah State. And he would go out there, he would sell incense, he would sell body oils, even though he worked at International Paper. And I'm always like, okay, what's the next thing? You see what I'm saying? So one day he came home and he said, I'm going to start selling jewelry. And I'm like, okay, where are you going to sell it and who are you going to sell it to? He said, I'm going to sell it to women and men in barbershops and beauty shops. And that's how he actually got started. He ordered a product, I priced it at what I thought was fair, and he went out on his days off. He worked a 7-day swing. On his days off, he naturally was going to get his hair cut. And he had a built-in clientele in the hair salons and in the barbershops. And it started a following. He became the silver man. When people needed a vendor, they would call us up. We would go to their event. We did church events, we did sorority events, we did conventions. And putting the money back into the business to buy inventory, when we went to City Market to open up our business, we had already had inventory. So there was nothing that we really needed to have an additional finance for.
Gotcha.
It was already there. And then we also learned how to make our own jewelry. That afforded us the ability to do art shows. And when you do art shows, you have to have a handmade product. You have to physically make it yourself. It's not something that you could just buy for resale. You have to make it yourself. And we did that for about 10 years. But I got tired of that. And one day I just told him, let's go find us a spot. So we went down to City Market to take a look at a space. The space was already taken, but there was another little small space on the side of that space. It was 172 square feet, and that is small. But that 172 square feet, the price of that rent was more than my mortgage.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So this is where the fear kicks in. This is where the doubt kicks in. If I sign this year's lease, what if I don't make this money? What am I going to do? And my husband said, girl, sign that lease. You're going to do this. You're going to make it. And you got to have a positive person, an encouraging person that's willing to, tell you, okay, you can do this. Because fear and doubt, will cripple you. So therefore, that's how we got started with that. And we've been in City Market now 16 years.
Oh, wow.
I'm on my 3rd space there, and each time I've gone to a larger space. So I'm on my 3rd space there now, and we've been really blessed with this. I mean, it was a really easy journey in some respects because everything just lined up. And that's how God works. Everything lines up, Okay.
That's really good. So I have a follow-up question for you.
Yes.
Were you working full-time before, and did you have to quit your full-time job in order to do this full-time? And if so, how was that?
I worked a full-time job.
Okay.
My brother at the time was retiring from the military and moving back to this area. And his wife had retail experience. I had no retail experience except for what I was selling myself. And I said one day, I said, well, Linda, you looking for a job? She said, yeah. I said, well, I need somebody to help me out. Because I got to work my job Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So you work the store Monday through Friday. I will do Saturday and Sunday. And the first 3 months of sales, of revenue, I looked at those numbers and I was like, oh no, I got to quit my job. This ain't working for me. This is not working for me. Shoot. I'm like, this is a secret these people have been keeping from us.
Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, working for yourself, you have freedom.
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of freedom that you have is unbelievable, you know? So, you know, I quit my job after, well, you know, I stayed there a little while until he found somebody to replace me.
Okay.
And I worked in a doctor's office, so, you know, it takes training to work in a doctor's office, you know, so I stayed there for maybe about another 6 months. And then I went in and I told him, I said, listen, I got to go. I said, I got to do this for me and my family. I mean, you're secure with what you have, but this is an opportunity for me to secure my family.
Right.
And so, you know, after that, we just moved on, and I've been there ever since.
Wow, that's good. That's amazing. All right, Sister Stacy, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to let the ladies go first. If you could let me know, like, what were some of the challenges? How did you get started? And then what were some of the challenges you had when you were starting?
So initially, when I started out, I was working kind of in workforce development, higher education. So this wasn't something that I was planning to initially do. I knew how to do resumes. I went through the training, but I hadn't gotten the certification yet. And I was in a position at Savannah Technical College where I had to train young people for the workforce and get them through training. And so I was doing that, and then gradually I started being asked to be a part of different speaking engagements, and people were asking me to come out. I was going out to the housing authority and all these different places, training people on how to prepare their resumes. And as I was doing all of this, my husband said to me, imagine if you could just do it for them instead of training all these people to do their resumes, because you have this knack for writing, which is something I've always done, was writing, but I had not parlayed that into the resume business. And so I went through the official training, and while I was pregnant with my son, he's 16 now, but while I was pregnant with my son, I took the certification exam and passed it, and became a certified professional resume writer. And so I just kind of threw it out there and did a few resumes for people. And I think one of the biggest challenges for me for a service like that, because oftentimes people, when they're updating their resume, they feel like I can do this on my own, you know, I can do this, so they're not going to pay what you ask. So I had a hard time setting my price points for a long time. And my husband was like, you need to pay, you need to charge your work. That was hard for me for several years. And it wasn't until I started getting the feedback and getting the referrals and people saying, hey, I have been putting my resume out there. It wasn't until you wrote my resume that I got all these hits, and now I got an interview, and now I got a job offer. And, you know, I'm making $10,000, $15,000 more because, you know, I submitted this new resume. And so then I started to realize that maybe I am doing something that everyone can't necessarily do for themselves. And so that's when I started to kind of try to expand on it a little bit and get the website going and things like that. But it was a challenge. I strictly, at the time, looked at it as just something I enjoyed doing for people. It was not something that I was looking at doing as a business, but it parlayed into that. And as I enjoy doing it now, I understand the work that goes into it. I tell people all the time, I don't just write your resume, or some people may say, you know, can you look at my resume for me? I don't just look at your resume. I'm going to find a way to tell your story in a way that, thank you. I'm going to find a way to tell your story in a way that presents you in the best light. And so that is what I started trying to do for people. And now, it has expanded. I do resumes. You know, I've always done cover letters, but now people are asking me to do statements of purpose, letters of intent, bios, and so I'm doing a lot of different professional documents now, not just the resumes. So,
That's really good. That's good. We're going to move to you, Brother Daryl. What do you do, and what were some of the challenges you had when you started your business? You've been in business for over 20 years, you stated. So what were some of the challenges initially when you began?
Well, initially, I'm an insurance agent. Been an insurance agent for 40 plus years, and got tired of doing that. Been licensed, or right now I'm licensed in about 10 states and have life license, health license, PNC license, and securities license. Still do insurance, but my everyday job here in Savannah is owning the Brighter Day Bail Bond. And what we do is get people out of jail, put them back in jail. Okay, and so we're the only true black-owned business in the bail bonding business in Savannah. And I enjoy it. What got me into the bail bonding business, when I grew up, I'm from North Carolina, lived all over the country, but where I lived in North Carolina, a gentleman that stayed across the street from me was a longshoreman and a bail bondsman. So I got to see that early on, and I realized that it was a lot of financial gain in the bail bonding business. Plus what I've done by being in the insurance business, it taught me how to be humble, because I started out being kind of arrogant. I thought, you know, as an agent, I was all for myself. I worked, you know, pretty much to create my own success. But when I went into management, I got out there and I decided to challenge people, and I realized that, you know, they wanted to go their way, but I was trying to bring them to success, and I was kind of tough and pushing them, and everybody started quitting. And when they started quitting, all the work fell on me, but the pay didn't change. So I said, this is something is wrong with this picture, because I'm doing all the work and getting no more money, and I'm coming home late at night or whatever. But I actually worked for the largest black-owned insurance company, and I did that for about 17 years. And so at that point, I traveled all over the country, lived in many different places, because I started as an agent and went to a regional director. And my last stop with them was in Chicago, and right now I live between Savannah and Chicago. But got in the bail bonding business, and it's been a joy. I really enjoy it. What happened when I came here, the reason we came to Savannah was I was trying to go to Atlanta, but it was so difficult trying to get in, because it's a difficult business, it's a cutthroat business, and nobody wants you in the business as a business owner, because they will put you in as an employee, but they don't want you to be their competition. They think they own the right to that. But I came here, and Judge Gaston, his son is an attorney in Durham, and he kind of made this way for us to come in and get approved for Chatham County. So I thought initially, since we were in the bail bonding business, and most of my clients I thought would be my own people, then I needed to be in the hood. That was the biggest mistake I made, because people, I mean, we do go and get treated unfairly, but people don't want to come in the hood late at night. And we were on MLK across from the project, so bullets was going off and mosquitoes was taking chunks out your body and all that kind of stuff. So we had a corporation, and it was 6 of us. It was my idea, because I had the business planned out and everything, so I brought people in it. But I learned something going into business. If you go into business and you have a corporation, own 51% of that corporation. Because if you don't, you can get kicked out of your own deal. And that's kind of what was beginning to happen. So they came at me, all the other business owners, and decided that they was going to vote me out. Okay, but what they didn't do, they didn't put me in the meeting, and I'm the president of the company. But I didn't get mad with them. I said, well, you know, I went in and I told them, I said, y'all gonna regret the day y'all ever saw me, and you know, because I'm gonna do what I gotta do. So I went and put everything in place and decided to go solo. Came out to Chatham Parkway. I said, well, I need to be close by the jail. And they were building a new plaza right now where we are now. We've been there over 20 years. And so a friend of mine and myself, we was leaving from the jail, and I saw this plaza and said, this is where we're going to do business. And the word "a brighter day" came up in my head for whatever reason. And I said, that's it. That's going to be the name of the business, because you need a catchy business, a catchy name for your business. So we've been in business, and what I come to find out is everybody go to jail, black or white, and if you do a good professional business, they don't care who you are, they're going to do business with you. So initially, we were the closest business to the jail, and we got business that the other companies didn't get, and we still do, because we're on Chatham Parkway, so people pass by us every day versus having to go down the road to see the other bonding company. So, and like I say, in my business or in any business, you got to have professional skills, and you got to be professional and business minded to people. You can't treat people negative when they're spending money with you.
That's right.
And if people don't understand that, they're going to go out of business real quick.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. That is such good wisdom. Yes. So, Brother Earl, if you could answer the question, what were some of your initial startup problems that you had with your business?
Initial startup problems. Okay, so what I actually have owned multiple businesses, but the business that I currently do, doing the custom automobiles and restoration, one of the biggest problems with that is finances. It is with most businesses, is with finance, because what you have to get, the equipment that you have to use, usually is expensive. There's just no way around it. Buying a paint booth instantly, that's 5 digits we're talking about. You know, getting a frame machine, 5 digits. You know, it's not like I can just go and get most of this stuff, even if I got it at liquidation sales for shops going out of business, which kind of sounds oxymoronic. But anyways, you know, even capitalizing off of that is still as expensive. There's just no way around it. So that was my biggest thing initially, was doing that. And the way I got around doing that is I just hustled. Really, you know, I worked another job, saved up all of that money as much as I could, and just bought stuff before I even, you know, knew I was going to make the move. It was kind of another story. But that pretty much was the biggest thing, is the finances. The next thing is qualified personnel. You got to have people to do the job, you know, and they got to know what they're doing, or else they'll cause you to fail quickly, you know. Other than that, a good location definitely makes a difference. You know, being in city market, I'm sure that works great for you. You know, but yeah. So having the right location, same thing. I thought maybe, hey, well, you know, I'll be in the hood. You know, in the hood is cheaper. You know, rent's usually a little bit cheaper. And I kind of wish I still was in the hood, y'all. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But anyways, you know, I did that. You know, tried being in the hood, and it was okay. But really, once I made the move to coming out on the south side is when I kind of, you know, the location where I'm at now, I absolutely love it. I want to try to buy it, but I love it. So, but yeah.
So you mentioned like getting the equipment. I know a lot of African Americans say that there are challenges when it comes to buying things, and they don't have the money to get it. How difficult, or maybe easy, is it for people, entrepreneurs, to be able to get some type of line of credit, get some type of business credit initially, because there's a lot of startup costs depending on what type of business that you have. So how did you navigate that process?
Nah, that's.
Or did you come out your pocket yourself?
Highly interesting, yeah. So it's a combination. So I went to Bank of America, asked them for a line of credit. A lot of people think line of credit, they think credit card. That's not a line of credit. That's actually just borrowed money.
Right.
Like that's, but a real line of credit, I just wanted, and I didn't need much. I told them, hey, just float me $14,000. That's not a lot of money. I mean, really. And they wouldn't do it. And my credit at the time was, I think, maybe low 800s. It's ridiculous, But I didn't let that stop me. What I did is I actually, at the time, was at another church. I went to the pastor, presented my idea, had a business plan. It's very important, y'all. Make sure y'all have a business plan. Had a business plan, presented that to him. He looked at it, talked with some of the other church members. It all looked good to them. And so they loaned me. It was a small loan. It was only like $1,500. But that's all I needed to do what I need to do, because I knew the ultimate goal and how that money I could make it move for me. So that's kind of how I got around that whole, dealing with Bank of America. I also tried to just get a straightforward business loan from the SBA. Horrible. Horrible. I mean, and not the loan. The loans are great. Understand me when I say this. The terms are phenomenal. I mean, if you can get it,
Right.
phenomenal. The problem is they make you go through so much red tape. So much. They want to know everything, And I mean, in and of itself, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. However, when you're trying to jump out there with your idea, your business, or whatever it is, and you got to go through all of that, it can discourage you. But to get around that, they actually had another resource that a lot of people don't know about or take advantage of. The University of Georgia has a resource inside that building that's free. And what they'll do is they'll sit down with you and they'll write out like a pro forma sheet. You can do a P&L kind of projected. I mean, everything you could possibly think of to help that business be successful that you'll need to know, they'll help you do it. And that's what I did. I took advantage of that. So since I couldn't get the money, well, somebody gonna give me something. I'm gonna get something. And so that's what I took advantage of, and that helped me get around it.
That's very, very good, and I'm glad you brought that up. Now, there are a lot of people who want to start a business, may not know where to start, but I often tell people the positives, I guess, about being a business owner and how it could possibly change your life. One of the things that we did as a way of, I guess, since we were able to have a type of side hustle, something on the side for us to bring in and generate extra income, that extra money was able to help put down money for, our house. We were able to get a house as a result of the business income. We were able to, of course, pay off debt. We paid off thousands of dollars of debt, like in a short amount of time. And all of that just basically changed our life, because now, of course, we have a home. We've had it for over 15 years. It has equity and all that good stuff, which helps our net worth, right? So what are some of the ways, I guess, that owning a business has changed your life for the positive? Maybe your legacy, maybe your financial, your finances, or maybe your kids' finances. How has your business changed your life? And I'll start with you, Brother Darrell.
Let me say this. I think I'll answer that question, but in starting a business, you need to research your venture. A lot of people go in business and just think they're going to take off and don't try to realize what they're trying to do. Research your business. Know what you're trying to do. See, is the business relevant for where you're trying to put it, and what you're going to do to earn money, where you're going to find the money to get it started. Because like he said, the SBA and all those people, they're there, but they're not going to give you the money. They'll take it through hoops. I was approved for $500,000 during COVID. And at the very last second, when they got my checks and everything to put the money in my account, they told me they don't do loans to bail bonding business. I said, I pay my taxes, but I've been through that before.
Right.
So it wasn't no surprise, but it's those kind of things that you have to go through. Search your name, because your name may be taken by somebody else, so you're going to lose money if you get out there and start a business, and you may get sued because you're taking on somebody else's name when you didn't find out whether that name was available. So getting in business is not easy. It's rewarding. My business is 24 hours, and I forgot to mention I do have a second location. We also have an office in Sylvania. And, but anyway, you got to do research. Research your business, and you got to be professional. In my insurance life, I wore a suit and tie every day, and you know I really enjoyed that. But what I enjoy now, I can come to the office, I mean not looking tacky, but I don't have to have on a suit and tie, because when people go into jail, they don't care what you got on.
Right.
They,
Right, exactly. They don't want to wear the orange.
and I thought that, you know, I need to be around my people because we go to jail more, as I said earlier. But my first client that I ever bailed out was a white person that worked for Gulfstream. But you know, they paid the full bond. So, but and a lot of that happens. If a person is out of state, we don't take the money on a 10% or 15%, because if you live in New York, North Carolina, or whatever, and you give me 10 or 15%, chances are you're not coming back. So what we do is charge a full amount, and part of it is collateral, and you will get, you know, the bulk of that money back once the case is resolved. So, I mean, I've bonded out, you know, large bonds, you know, celebrities, whatever, business people. I bonded out an attorney, and they had to walk them out, well, they didn't have to, but they walked them out the back door so they wouldn't be, you know, embarrassed and so forth. Entertainers, whatever. We do it all, and I just try to be professional, and I don't judge people, because no matter what you do, nobody's perfect. Everybody make mistakes. So I try to be very professional to people, and I don't like people to come in my office and be nasty to my employees. Because one person came in and called my office manager the N-word, and he was those other folks. So I looked at him, I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Let me show you what these kind of folk do for people like you." I put the handcuffs on him, leg irons on him, and say, let's see this in person take you to the jail.
Right.
So we drug him down to the jail, and he was apologizing, this, that, and the other. But I'm going to write a book at some point, because what I've done in life has been very interesting, especially from the bail bonding business. Yeah. And it's you're blessed to have a black-owned bail bonding company in the city, because folk don't treat you right unless they know they got some competition. Yeah. So, and one of the things, and I'm going to stop, what frustrates me with us as business people, and I know these people will concur, is we don't do business with each other. Yeah. You know, we make mistakes, you condemn us for life. The other folk make mistakes, it's okay. And, you know, what I would tell us to do is we need to talk to each other and not about each other. Yeah. That's very important, and that's what we don't do.
That's good. So, you mentioned a lot of different things. And saying that, we'll get back to the question I just asked, but one of the things that you are a part of, you're part of BEMA, and that's a great way for us as African-American business owners to be able to work together and not just, you know, talk about each other, but work with each other. Can you explain a little bit what that is and how you're the president and what that can do for business owners?
Yeah, I am the president of BEMA, Black Empowerment Movement Association. About 4 or 5 years ago, we started this organization. We were at someone's funeral, and we came right here to Temple of Glory to have lunch, and we started talking, and we decided to start an organization to help business people understand how to get a business started, how to run it properly, and how to, you know, communicate with their customers and their clients, because that's important. Because like I say, if people not going to spend money with you if you talking to them any kind of way. I know I won't. You know, if you talking to me negatively and disrespectfully, and then you want me, and even in the bail bonding business, because there are some companies out there that talk to our people any kind of way, but we tend to go to them anyway. Because one thing we do that I think is a mistake, we as minorities, if somebody charge you $5 less, she's got a excellent store downtown, so her cost of doing business is more. Her product is great. So if someone comes to her and want her to give them a donation, chances are she might. But if you go to those other folk, they're not going to give you no donation. They're going to look at you like you insulted them to even ask that. So as far as BEMA is concerned, our challenge with BEMA is to teach people how to run a business successfully, know how to go get the resumes done and get all the necessary paperwork done. Because we were talking about a business venture before here in the church. I didn't even know this gentleman did cars, and I met him in the parking lot. And the next day I took my car over to do business with him because I'm in the church and I didn't know what resources was in my church. And he stopped to help me because of what I needed done. So we got to talk to each other. We got to get the resources. You got to be professional. If you're not professional, you're going to go slowly but slowly, go out of business. And credit is important. It's better to run a business on somebody else's money than your own, because when you put yours out front initially and it don't work, your credit gets bad. Now you can't even get the money that you could have gotten had you gone to get it out front. So go to the banks or wherever you got to go to get money from somebody else first. And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of just doing that, but that's the way you're supposed to do business. Have a credit score. If you got a credit score of 720 or higher, money will come bowling through the door. I have a friend in New York. He's the most consummate person in credit I ever met. There's nothing that he can't conquer in credit. He'll have you from, whatever you are, in 6 months, you'll be 700 or 800 credit score. And he does it in a way that is done professionally and correct. It's not, where it's going to come back at you. But if you don't do the right thing, it's going to go back where it was. But credit is important.
That's good. Thank you so much. So somebody spoke a little bit about COVID. COVID hit our community very hard. I heard people say that when the nation gets a cold, we get the flu. So it hit our community extremely hard. How were you all able to navigate owning a business during COVID, especially when we were shut down for many months? What were some of the things that you changed, especially having a storefront? Both of you all having a store, all three of you all having a storefront. What were some of the things that you had to change, alter, pivot, and how did you all get through COVID? So, Sister Gwen.
Well, of course, when everything shut down, my business was closed. My doors were closed for 2 months. I enjoyed my time off. I hadn't had 8 weeks off and God knows when. So I really enjoyed my time off. But there were no revenues coming in. I was still paying payroll. I was still paying rent. But I had no revenues coming in. And even though I did have a good savings, and I still do, have a good savings, so I could pull from that. I could pull from my business account. But the one thing that I did not have when COVID hit was a website. I didn't think I needed a website. Savannah has over 6 million visitors per year. What do I need a website for? I have people coming in and out of my door every day, all day long. And my husband kept saying, Gwen, you need a website. Gwen, you need a website. I'm like, God, what do I need a website for? That's something I got to man, something that somebody else has got to man. I got to go to the post office. It's just, it's just not necessary. But I have a website now. Believe me, I have a website now. But, and when you lose that revenue, you're not going to get the revenue back.
Right. Yep.
You're not going to get it back. So it was, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, thank goodness, okay, they said, okay, we can open up. I'm going to work. Right. I'm going to work. Right. So, we sat there for days on end with maybe 1 or 2 sales a day. But you got to be there in case the customer is there. Right. You can't make any money if you're not there. Right. So that was a lesson hard learned, really was.
So now, since we're, of course, back and open, you are able to now generate money from, of course, in person and on website? Can people come on your website
Yes,
and purchase
yes.
clothing?
Well, because, a lot of times when people come in, sometimes people don't have money to buy at that particular time. So they'll ask you, do you have a website? Because I can look at it later and maybe get something when I can afford to get something, or when when I'm ready to purchase, which is good. Because not every person that comes through the door will generate a sale.
Yeah, that's good. Good,
So.
good. All right, Brother Earl.
Man, COVID. So when COVID hit, it hurt, but it didn't really hurt me the way that I think it might have hurt most businesses, and only because when the housing market crashed, I had already learned some stuff from that ordeal. And when that happened, it actually caused me to look at what my business could possibly do that is related to what I do, but it'll allow me to still generate money, bring some revenues in. And so what I did is, instead of, people wanting to spend money on doing custom cars, I just started doing more collision repair work. I had already been doing more collision repair work. So thankfully, and by God's grace, I was deemed an essential business. So I really was only closed for about 2 weeks, which was great. I gave my guys paid time off, and we chilled for a little bit, Yeah, like you, it feels great when you can kind of, fall back for a couple weeks. But when it was time to go back, hey, all right, it's time to hit it, fellas. We got to hit it. And so we just started doing more collision repair work. Like I said, I don't do that anymore. I just did that, to get through that little tough spot. Also, so there were some resources available that if you were a business owner, I don't know if this was for every business, but I know for mine that were available from the government. And so they had certain things that you could basically get grant money, right, exactly. And I'm going to tell you now, when you're dealing with the government,
Yes.
when you're dealing with the IRS, people, do not take those people money
Right.
and think you can do what you want to do, go out, buy a car, buy whatever, buy a big screen. Don't do that.
Yes.
Do what you're supposed to do with that money.
Right,
Because I
right.
promise you, you might get away, or you might get by. You ain't going to get away.
Right, that's right.
Because at some point, Uncle Sam going to start looking where those dollars went.
Right.
And they see you just went out and made some stupid purchase.
Right.
Oh, well, we want that money back. And you might get jail time, fed time, Yeah. Oh, yeah.
good.
And so, my sister, who's an accountant, she went through, hey, brother, well, you can get this, you qualified for it. And so she told me all of these different things. I say, hey, well, which one we can get where I don't have to pay no money back?
Right.
Let's get that one, And so she went through and found that actually it was a loan with a really low interest rate. However, if you use so much of a percentage of it for the business, which I use like 80% of it for the business, then you don't have to pay it back. And so I took advantage of that. But the main thing was just the fact that, my businesses, it can kind of, cross a couple lines. So
That's good.
that's how I was able to get by.
Good. Brother Darrell?
Me? Yeah, well, COVID hit the bail bonding business pretty hard. What happened when COVID came along, they stopped putting people in jail. They was letting them out on an OR bond, which means there's a signature bond and they just show up in court. And they did that because they didn't want people to come to jail and bring COVID to the jail. So now you got 6 or 8 bonding companies going for all the felony bonds, because felony people still had to go to jail. The misdemeanors was not going to jail. So what I did, one of the things I did, the government was giving away so much money. We got the PPP and all that, but also if people were unemployed, could probably make more money than they could make if they was employed. So I put all my people, I put them on unemployment and let them get that money from the government, and then I didn't have to pay them. So that's what, how I made it through all of that. But it was really rough. So now it's bouncing back. I mean, I'm grinning every day now because look, people going to jail. Somebody called me about 4 or 5 o'clock this morning in Sylvania, and because like I said, we got an office up there, and I got a good deal up there. The sheriff allows me to write bonds while I'm home. I don't even have to come to the jail, and I can come deal with it later. I wish I could do that here in Savannah. That would be awesome. But like I say, if you treat people right, things come back, and that's just what it's about.
That's so true. Sister Stacy, I know during COVID there was, what was it called, the Great Resignation. So people were switching jobs, and so how did COVID impact your business?
Yeah, so COVID had an interesting impact on my business. It was more of a positive impact because during that time, people were reinventing themselves. People were rebranding themselves. People, like you said, were leaving jobs. People were looking for remote opportunities. And so even people who had a broad range of experience and knowledge were wanting to be branded in a way where they can get more simplistic jobs and things like that. So it became a busy time for me, but just because of the shift in the workforce. And so people were trying to just, take a different approach. And even in some cases, people were looking at going into business for themselves. And so I was assisting with a lot of the, the bios and things like that, just to keep people out there. And because my business is primarily online, I was still able to do consultations. I was still able to meet with people. And, we did a lot of things through Zoom. I was still able to do a lot of my because I do coach people on interviewing and things like that. So I was able to coach people on how to do virtual interviews because a lot of that was going on for a lot of the remote jobs. So it actually had a different type of impact for me. It became a very busy time for me. And it actually caused me to rethink the way that I did some of the things that I was doing and to offer things in a different way. But yeah, people were just doing things differently because of, where we were at the time. And so I was able to kind of capitalize on that and say, hey, you want to reinvent yourself? Let's take a look at the way that you're branding yourself, the way that you're presenting yourself, and let's redo that for you. And I did a lot of that for people. And even now, it's just, it has continued beyond the pandemic because people are still in that space where they're like, I've done this, but now I want to pivot. I want to do something different. I'm working with a lot of veterans that are coming out of the military and how to present what they have done in a way that the civilian world can understand. So it's just been, it's been good for me during the pandemic. That was probably one of the good things that came out of the pandemic was that, a lot of people made a pivot. Yeah.
So we are coming to an end. One thing, if you could, there are a lot of people who want to start a business, have ideas, but maybe don't know what to do, where to begin, or have some type of fear, right? I always tell people that you don't have to be a full-time entrepreneur, but you need to be entrepreneurial. Like, you should have something that you're doing on the side. If you have a 9-to-5, have your own business where you're making some type of money, right? So what is one tip as we end? What is one tip that you would give someone who may be on the fence about starting a business, whether it's giving them a tip about resources, maybe it's telling them something that they must include in their business when they're starting off, or whether it's saying something that has helped your family with your business? So we'll start with Brother Earl, and then we'll end with Sister Stacy.
I'm sorry. One tip, one resource that would be good to. Man, I don't know. I had so many different ones that I tried that kind of, either worked or didn't work. I don't really know where to start with that. But I would just say, reach out to whatever local entity and even other business owners that you might know, and just ask them, hey, well, what can I expect? What should I try to do first? Should I try to save the money, or should I just go out and do the research? Just reach out to people who have already tread that path and see what they say. And follow your heart, follow your passion. Don't ever change from your passion, man.
Good. Sister Gwen?
One thing I'd like to, I would like to tell somebody or tell people, you want to be consistent. You want to be consistent in what you do. It's like Chick-fil-A. When you go to Chick-fil-A, it's consistent. Every time. You can count on one hand the times that maybe you've gotten something bad from there in 30 or 40 years. Right. So you want to be consistent. You want to offer your customer a good service. You want to be adaptable. You want to be pleasing. You want to be respectful of your customer's time, your customer's money. And I think if you just have that consistency, that's what brings people back. So I think that's good, consistency.
I'll go back to research what you're trying to do, make sure that what you're trying to do works for you, that it qualifies to get you where you're trying to go. Don't be afraid to market yourself. When I first came into business, people was telling me, don't put yourself on the bus, don't show your face. I'm like, why not show my face? I'm not ashamed of what I'm doing. So my face was all over town. I was on the bus, I was on television, whatever. So, I mean, because people in the business that I do, they don't care whether you're black or white. They want to know, can you get the job done? And because in the bail bonding business is cutthroat business, as I said earlier. So you got to take that challenge. But do your research. If you don't have good credit, try to get yourself some credit, because that can cut your head off. And as I said earlier, try to start your business off with somebody else's money and not your own. So when things get rough, your credit is good, you got money, you can still maintain. But if you start off with your own money and it don't go right, you're not going to get any money, because your credit is going to be messed up. So, and let people know what you do. Don't be ashamed of what you do, because if you're ashamed of what you do, you're in the wrong place. I come in this church every week. I was telling Miss Turner, I'm always late. So she asked me to be here at 8:45. I said, I don't know how I'm going to do that.
That's right.
But I made it, and let people know what you're doing in the church. A lot of people don't know. Let people know who you are, what you're doing, and you don't have to be braggadocious or whatever, or arrogant. But people need to know, because here's one thing I did that helped me even in this church. When we were serving dinner and lunches, I came in here one Wednesday when the lunches was $5. So I looked around and there was 20 or 30 people in line. I told everybody, I said, I'm gonna buy you lunch today. And I would come in here every Wednesday and buy the lunch, $5, And as soon as I did that, in a couple of days, I got 2 big bonds right out of the church. And those were people that didn't know that I was in the bail bonding business. So you can't be afraid to put yourself out there and spend your money back into what you do. And like I said, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy being here. I don't make a lot of fuss. I don't talk a lot, but I'm paying attention. I'm looking at everything. So if there's any way that I can help anybody, don't hesitate, because that's what I do.
That's good. Thank you. Sister Stacy?
I just kind of reiterating what everyone said about researching and understanding your industry. I think that is sometimes, a lot of times, the fear. When I was getting ready to go into resume writing, I didn't realize that it was such a needed service. I didn't realize how many other resume writers there were out there. I didn't realize there were professional associations that I could be a part of. I didn't realize it was that big of an industry. And so research your industry, and also you want to know your target market. So you want to know who you're marketing to. And now we have social media, we have all these different ways to market ourselves, and so it's important to understand the space that you want to be in order for your name to come up. And I often get, even through Facebook, I'll have people that will tag me because somebody is saying, hey, I need someone to write my resume, I don't know how to find someone, and people will tag me in. And I've gotten a lot of clients that way, but it's important to understand your industry and to kind of understand the market that you're targeting. And you have to, in business, you have to be willing to be vetted. You can't take it personal. I have written resumes for cashiers, but I've also done resumes for doctors, attorneys, educators, HR professionals, people in the film industry, just all over the spectrum. You have to be willing to be vetted and not take it personal. I heard someone say be adaptable. You have to be willing to be adaptable. At the end of the day, if I do a resume, if I do any kind of writing job for someone, I tell them every single time, before we close this job, I want you to be pleased with it. When I send your resume to you, I want you to take a few days to review it, look it over, tell me what you would like for me to change, tell me what you would like for me to rewrite on there. And so at the end of the day, as if we work together, you're walking away with a product that you're proud of, and you're going to tell someone. And that is what happens a lot of times. I could say all day long, yes, I can do your resume, I can do this, I can write this, I can do your bio, I can do your, this or that. But at the end of the day, what you're going to remember is that she wanted me to be pleased with the product before we closed out the job. It wasn't about how well I wrote the resume to begin with, but the fact that I want to give you that time to make sure that you're participating in the process and you're pleased with it. So as a business owner, you have to be willing. I have people all the time that say, okay, so are you familiar with this industry? How long have you been doing this? I don't mind being vetted because you're making an investment in yourself. When you get a resume written, if you get a bio done, if you get any type of writing job done that is representing you, you're investing in yourself. So it's important for you to have someone who is going to give you the product that you're looking for. So don't take it personal. Even if someone doesn't agree with you, if you've done a service, just like everyone was saying here, be professional. Be willing to have those conversations where you feel like, hey, maybe this is an opportunity for me to do something differently, and that will fare well with you. But understand your target market, understand, get advice if you're not, because I've always said, I'm not the marketing guru, but get advice from people who are. Don't be afraid to get advice from experts that can help you grow your business.
It's really good. All right. Well, thank you all so much. One last thing, if you could go and just let us know where we can find you. If you have a physical location, let us know where you're located. Sister Stacy, how can people reach out to you?
RightWayResume.net is my website. I am on Instagram at Stacy the Writer, and I'm also on Facebook under my name, Stacy Davis Stanton, and under Right Way Resumes.
A Brighter Day Bail Barn at 2 Park of Commerce Boulevard, Suite G, Savannah, Georgia. Telephone number is 912-233-1007. In Savannah, 217 North Main Street. The telephone number up there is 912-346-6768. The website is A Brighter Day Bail at AOL.com.
Sister Gwen?
Silver Silk and Beads, 314 West St. Julian Street. That's in City Market. 2 doors down from Vinnie Van Gogh's. Everybody know where Vinnie's is. My website is silversilkandbeads.com.
CIK Customs, 7410 White Bluff Road. We lined up with the Hunter Army Airfield Flight Line. On social media, Instagram is CIK_customs, and it's customs with the Z at the end instead of an S. Also online, www.cikcustoms.com, and on Facebook, CIK Customs.
Well, thank you all so much. We really appreciate all the insight, wisdom, knowledge you were able to give us. Can you all give our panel a hand? So we want to support our own. So if you need any of the services that our panel provides, please, please, please reach out to them. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, guys. Let's give them another hand. What a powerful, powerful business panel. And we would definitely be reaching out to you guys real soon. We got to do something great. It's awesome to know what's in the house. And I know there are other business owners in the house as well. Hey, Bishop. And so we are so excited. Our bishop would love for us to get together and be able to support one another. But to know what's in the house is very important because everything we need is right here in the house. We're getting ready for service. Thank you, guys. Thank you to our business panel. Let's give them another hand, and let's get ready to transition.